Howdy, Jason here, and today on the Autoedit Jeep we'll be doing what's, let's see, the equivalent of leg day. We're going to be doing the PowerStop brake upgrade on this, and that's some pads and rotors that we're going to be throwing on here. Ever since I slapped these beefy 37-inch BFGs on the Jeep, the brakes suddenly felt like they were working overtime for normal driving. This kit from PowerStop is the Z36 Extreme Package and is the most effective and economical brake upgrade I've found. This is a very complete kit and pretty easy to install. You just want to pay attention because brakes are a very important part of the vehicle. It's what keeps this thing from just being a guided missile on the road. So you want to pay attention to what you're doing. Now, in this video, I have two fun surprises. They're not really surprises, but they're two fun elements. I'm going to be giving away an entire set of this entire kit to a viewer at the end of this thing, so stay tuned for the rules on that one. Plus, I got some rims. Yes, I have some Rugged Ridge rims. I'm not going to show you till the end, but they're awesome looking. So come on in, let's get this going. The obvious starting play here is to get the rig securely off the ground and yank those rims and tires off. All right, so the basics to brakes really aren't that difficult, at least on this setup right here. You have your rotor, you have your caliper, and then your brake pads in here squeeze that and stop you. So what we're gonna do is just change the friction material on those pads and put a little bit higher quality, a little more advanced rotor on here, and that should help make up the difference for all of the stuff that we've added onto this thing, or if you do, you know, put bigger tires and things like that on your junk. So let's get this stuff off first. Now first we get to get rid of this wheel spacer. I feel like a NASCAR guy here, except way, way slower. Wheel spacer's coming off. Now with the new wheels that I ordered for this thing, I can't wait to show you guys. I don't think I'm gonna need these things because I was able to order a backspace that was more desirable for this setup. So we're gonna find out together. So let's put this aside. Now it's time to just, I'm gonna take this opportunity. Now, here's a funny thing. If you notice, this is kind of clean. After that last trip out to Hungry Valley where I tiptoed through the hills a little bit, with the first time out with the suspension, yeah, I know I was kind of being a pansy, but hey, I'm just learning. This thing was muddy. Now I get it why people mall crawl. It took forever to clean this thing up again, and it's still not even all the way clean, but man, I get it now. But that's not gonna keep me from getting out in the mud again. We're gonna get out there. I got learning to do. So while we're here, let's go ahead and spray this thing down a little bit, just to clean this while we're here. Okay, first we'll take the caliper off. And that's just in case you're curious, a 15 and a 13 millimeter. And then those bolts will just come right out. Toss that one on the floor. And your caliper should just come right off. And it does. Now here's a cool little thing. You never want to just sit here and have this thing hanging on its own brake line. So it's good to have a little wire. This is just a coat hanger here. And I have it just strung up to this piece here. And there you go. It'll keep it out of the way and not damage anything. Clean this up a little bit while it's here until we get it reinstalled. Now, I'm just gonna pull our old pads off. Now this Jeep only has 35,000 miles on it, or 37,000 miles on it, so there's a lot of material left there, so that's all right. And then we're just gonna pull this thing off. All right, put a little bit of muscle into that. Okay. And then this will let us get this old rotor off. So we'll put this aside and we'll pull the old rotor off. Not bad. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take this opportunity to clean some of the surface rust off of this thing. So just wire wheel some of this. Good enough for the grills I go out with. And now it's really easy. The kit makes it super simple to not screw up which rotor goes on which part of the car. Obviously your big vented ones go in the front and the rears are not vented in the center, but the cross-drilled and slotted. Now these slots have, each manufacturer, it's really interesting, has a different philosophy here. Willwood wants these slots to face forward and drag across, as if you can picture the pad sitting here, to drag across the pad. These, and it even tells you front driver's side. So this goes here. These slots go the other way. And that's about as simple as that gets right there. You just put that back on. And now to keep this in place, we're just gonna put a couple of lugs on. We'll tighten those, we'll just buzz those down. So now that'll hold that in place for you while we do the rest of our work. So next up, we're gonna put this guy back on. Now this, go back on with the stock bolts. I put a dab of red Loctite in there. I just like to have all of my brake pieces attached with bolts with Loctite on them. Ask me why. So why, Jason? Well, because I had one of these come out one time and it dropped the caliper inside the rim and locked my tire up on the freeway. Wasn't that fun? So we'll tighten those down for now. Okay, now we'll put our new stainless retainers in here. Beautiful. And those go in just like that. The kit comes with this little packet of grease here, and this is legit high temp grease because you're gonna need it. And what you do is you put that on all of, these are like, this is one of those little things that you just won't do sometimes, and it'll come back and bite you. So what you do is you put a little dab of this high temp grease on any place that actually moves a little bit. So you'll put it on the ears of each of the pads, you'll put it on the actual piston here, and then on this side of the caliper, so that way all of the pieces that are touching other pieces that move, you have that little bit of grease on there to help quiet any vibration or chatter or movement like that. It's a very, very cool little thing that gets overlooked a lot. Now you'll notice that these are fairly fresh pads that I'm pulling off of here. So I'm not gonna really have that big of trouble, but sometimes when you go to try to put your caliper back on, these will have worn, and this cylinder will actually, the piston will have pushed out quite a bit, so it won't quite fit on here. So now in that case, in that instance, when you have to do that, this little tool is the cool setup to actually, well, here, let's just pull this down so I can show you better. So this little tool will just push that piston, just use one of your other pads, and you just screw this in. You could use channel locks or something, but this is just a kind of, I have this tool, so I'm gonna use it. And this will just push your pad back in. You wanna be careful though, and not push it so far back in that you overflow your master cylinder. I've done that before too, that's always fun. Now this one I only have to push it in a little bit because the pads aren't that big a difference between these new and these old ones. So now, before we throw this back on, let's throw some of our high temp grease in there on the piston itself, because this is going to be touching this pad. So I just put a little bit around there. And then you want a little bit inside here where the outer pad rides. And that'll keep these quiet. Now, another thing I like about these I think these are carbon fiber resin pads, ceramic pads, is that they'd put a lot less dust on your rims, and I like that. Okay, so we got a little bit of grease there. Put that down. Clean my fingers off. Let's get this on. And this will just slide right into place there, just like that. And likewise on these bolts, I put a couple drops of red Loctite on here. And these bolts don't actually go that tight. So that gets that in position. Let's tighten these down. And that's it for the front install. Now's a good time to spray down, get any fingerprints, any bit of contaminants off the surface of your rotors now. Try not to spray all the grease that you just put in here off, but you're just gonna kind of clean this and keep any contaminants on, because the next part of this is also a really cool and important part, is when we go and actually season or bed these pads to these rotors, and I'll show you that one too. It's really cool. It's where you do a series of stops to get the heat and this pad kind of seated to this rotor. It's a really cool thing. Again, overlooked a lot of times when you do brake jobs. So let's go to the back and get the back done. Front, easy as that. This is my helper, Pinto. See how much help she is? You want to play some ball? Yeah, yeah. All right, go get it. Okay, so let's get going on the back here. Make quick work of this. Take our spacer off, which is kind of cool. Okay, spacer off. Another ball catch? Come on, bring it here. All right, go get it. Oh, right underneath it. All right, it's good entertainment. The floor show is good here. Okay, let's go ahead and get caliper off. Easy peasy. So let's pull this off. Okay. Keep that up out of the way. Now everything's fine here. Let's go ahead and pull this bracket off. So we'll pull these off, get our bracket off there, and we'll pull the rotor off. You'll notice that this is the emergency brake setup on these. And while I have that off, I'm going to take this opportunity to go ahead, spray that down with a little CRC, clean that area out of any junk. Let that dry for a second. And we'll put our new rotor on. And again, check this out, cannot screw it up. Rear driver's side. This is driver's side, so we're good. So let's throw this thing on. And then I'm gonna throw a couple of lugs on just to hold that in place snug while we do the rest of our work. Okay, looking good.
Now it's just a matter of replacing the stainless steel inserts, reinstalling the caliper bracket, greasing the important bits, and putting the new pads in place. And then reattach the caliper, don't forget the Loctite, and then spray that bad boy down for a final cleaning.
All right, and now for reveal number one for this video, the wheels. I'm really stoked with these. These are a Rugged Ridge XHD in gunmetal gray. This is their aluminum rim here with this metal trim ring that I put on here, and they're gorgeous. This rim is a 17 by 9, so it's a little bit wider than the stock rim, but it's still a 17. These are obviously the 37s. That started this whole deal. So let's get these things on here and I'll tell you a little bit more about these rims. These rims come in a backspace that is much more friendly to lifted vehicles and all that stuff. So we will get these started. Hey, look at that. The little trim ring came in handy already. It's good for catching lug nuts. Say that a few more times. My lug nuts fell into my trim ring. Okay. Let's throw the center cap on just because that's awesome. All right, looking really good.
Because this is a Rubicon, I can just put the Jeep in 4-low, first gear, and lock the front and rear diffs to torque the lugs before I even put it on the ground. It's kind of a handy trick.
All right, so we're gonna get the rest of these things on, and I'll show you a little bit about this back spacing here and why this wheel now I get to run it without a spacer. All right, so here's one of the stock Rubicon rims that came off of here. And what I wanna show you is the difference between the offset or the backspace on the rim. Now the stock rim, I'll just give you a quick example. I cut this bar that sits right on the lip. We'll measure, let's see. So this measures to the mounting surface 6 1/8 inches. So now let's go over to the new Rugged Ridge rim, and that is now 4 1/2, pretty close to 4 1/2. So that goes to show you that that's over 1.5 inches difference just on the mounting surface on the offset. So this actually will set the wheels farther out naturally with the wheels. So I'm gonna try it without the wheel spacers, and then we'll see where it goes from there. This should get us in the ballpark right now. Let's get it on and see what it does.
So I bolted the rest of the rims on, got suckered into a bit more playing with Pinto, and got ready for the break-in test drive.
All right, for a quick no-duh moment here, the spare went on perfectly. I went to put the license plate relocation bracket that I put on here from Metal Cloak that I actually did a few months ago now. I had to have a spacer on here a while back because the stock rims were just so out of whack for this. And I even had to make a little channel for the wire to go down in the back of that. And then I got an email from my buddy Scott over there at Metal Cloak, and he goes, "Why did you run the wire down there? Did you not see in the instructions that there is a hole in the bolt in the back of this thing for the wire to go down the middle and out the hole here?" And I said, no duh, I didn't. So I went ahead and fixed that, and then I did my own little upgrade to this where instead of having the 3 individual connectors, I actually just put this weather pack on here, so actually will make that even easier for me to take it off and put it back on. So, and I can keep track. You don't have to figure out which wire goes to what. So this turns back into being a really rad addition, and this just floats right back in there like that. I couldn't even actually run this pin before because the tire sat so flush to this thing, and so now it literally is just this quick release thing, and it sits nice and solid right in there, floats in the middle like it's supposed to. So quick no-duh moment, dipstick. So we're out on the road, and the tricky part of doing this correctly is finding a safe spot to do it. Now, when you're out in the real world, like it happens to be 5 o'clock, it's pretty crowded out here. So I'm gonna head up that canyon here to a little place where I know there isn't a lot of traffic. So we're gonna go give it a try up there, and then I'll show you the procedure of breaking in your brakes. So I'm gonna find a little gap in traffic here as we get out in the hills. We'll let these people by, and we'll do our first pass. Now we have this big open space in traffic. What you want to do is do 5 stops from 40 miles an hour down to 10 miles an hour. Now it's important to not ever stop, so give yourself lots of room. So we got 40, and then aggressive stop down to 10, and then keep going, accelerate back to 40. It's a Jeep, so it doesn't do that very easily. Aggressive stop down to 10, and then accelerate back up to 40. Aggressive stop down to 10, and then continue going, and then back down to 10. Always still rolling, and then one more. One more down to 10.
Now do 5 more from 35 to 5 miles per hour, still making sure not to come to a complete stop yet.
All right, that's the last one. Now it's very important, now that your brakes are nice and hot, I can actually smell, I can smell the resin in the pads now. And so it's really important that you don't come to a stop during any of this, because what happens is if you stop, those pads are now going to just be held right up against the rotors and create a bit of a temperature change there. And you don't want that. You just want a nice, consistent rotation. And now what we're doing is we're just going to let the pads and rotors cool back down. We're just cruising around at a nice 40 miles an hour, not using the brakes, just letting everything cool. So once everything cools, we'll do another couple of stops just to make sure everything's seated in. And it was interesting to see, even though they were heating, we were really putting a lot of heat into those things, they felt pretty good. So far, I already like the pedal feel. It's definitely better than it was when they were stock. So we're already in the improvement factor, and I really like that. I definitely love the look of these rims. They are a home run. These Rugged Ridge XHD rims are a slam dunk, home run, touchdown. They're everything. I love them. When you see a picture of something on an online website, and then you see them and you're like, oh, that should be pretty cool, and then you get them and they're even better than you thought. That rarely happens, but that definitely happened here. They are rad. Jeep wave. All right, so we're going 60. Let's just hit the brakes pretty hard and see what they do.
And they feel great. I can get the anti-lock to kick in with much less effort, and the Jeep just stops with way more confidence. And about those rims. Does anyone else hear angels singing?
So there's another big swing at upgrades on the Jeep. Everything is awesome so far. The rims are way better than I expected. I love them. And the brakes are a definite improvement. You should really consider doing that. If you go bigger tires and add a bunch of weight to your vehicle, the OEM stuff is just designed to handle the OEM stuff. And these brakes will give me a little bit more durability, or for heavy duty use, like if I'm hot dogging through the hills and just repeated hammering on the brakes. These will actually be better for that. Now, for the really cool reveal of this video, Chris over at PowerStop saw the other video where I gave away suspension, and he offered up a set of these brakes. That's $350 for these things for me to give away in this video. So subscribe and hit the like button below. You gotta hit like and subscribe to the Autoedit YouTube channel. That's it. And then just tell me that you want these brakes for your JK. And Chris over at PowerStop, I can't take credit for it. He's offering these things up. I'm just to get the guy, I'm just gonna be the guy that gets to give them away. So hit the like button, hit the share if you like. I actually would appreciate that. We gotta get some more views on these things, and then I'll give away these. Give me about 2 weeks after the date of this video airs, and we'll give these things away, and he'll drop ship these things to wherever you are. So until next time, enjoy your drive. Wow, it looks good.